All right, so today we're going to be talking about word problems with multiple unknowns. In other words, we're talking about equations, establishing equations through word problems. Okay, so we're going to begin on page 456. And let's look at the top of the page. All right, so follow along with me as I talk through this. So, a variety of word problems can be solved using steps introduced in previous sections, but we're getting to that. But a solution may be a single value or a multiple value. Okay? So, let's look at this problem together. There is a 7th grade class that has a total of 30 students. Okay, so we know that there are 4 more girls than boys. So we know we have boys, and that's represented by X. And girls, we have 4 more girls than we do boys. Okay, everybody see this on the screen? And we have a total of how many?
We have a grand total of 40.
40 or 30?
40.
How many?
40.
30.
30, yeah, I knew that.
All right? 30. So, to represent our unknown boys, we have X. To represent our unknown girls, we have X plus 4. Now, we're going to write and solve the equation, okay? So, let's just say that we have X, which represents the boys, plus X plus 4, which represents the girls, equals 30. Okay, everybody see that? Now, the key word is found in there are 4 more girls than boys in the class. How many boys and girls are there in the class? So we're talking about 7th graders. So there is a total of 30 equals 30. Okay? Now let's find the total here. And this, so if we have this equation right here, we would have X plus 4 equals 30. What are your like terms that you can combine here? X plus X would be what?
X squared?
No. 26? How about 2X? Plus 4 equals 30. You're moving ahead of me there. So when you are adding variables, you don't change the exponent. You add the coefficient in front of it. Okay? Remember that with me. When you're multiplying or dividing, that's when you will add or subtract the exponents. But when you're just adding variables, you do not change the exponent. Okay? So now, of course, yes, you're right. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I'm going to have 2x equals what? 26. I'm going to divide by 2. X equals what? 26 divided by 13. So do I have 13 boys or do I have 13 girls?
13 boys.
That's right. I have 13 boys. But to get girls, I have to do 13 plus 4, which equals what? 17. What is 17 plus 13? 30. Your answer is now complete. Yes?
Couldn't you have just done 30 minus 4 and then half that?
In this case, you probably could get close to that, but not in every. Let's look at some more, okay? Go to page 457 with me. Look at the top of the page, solving word problems with multiple unknowns. All right, so what is step 1 on page 457. Read that for us, Bear. Step 1.
Read and represent.
Read and represent. So what does that mean? Elaborate for us.
Read the word problem for understanding. Identify the unknowns whose value must be found. Identify the information that has been given.
Okay, now represent the unknowns.
Represent the unknown. Choose a variable to represent one of the unknowns. Usually the unknown that has the least information given about it. Represent the other unknowns in terms of the first unknown.
Okay? And that's why they chose B for boys. But to me, you can do it that way. You don't have to. But I think it's confusing, especially for boys and girls. Okay? All right, moving on. Number 2, write and solve. Read that for us, Ariel.
Write and solve. Write the equation. Look for the statement of equality within the problem. Translate keywords and phrases algebraically. Solve the equation.
Very good. Step 3, state and check. Basically, you're going to state your answer because when you are answering a word problem, you want to state the answer to the word problem. Like, there are 13 boys and 17 girls in the 7th grade class, or whatever the question is asking, okay? And then check your answer mathematically by substitution, mentally by considering it reasonable enough to make sure it's a reasonable answer. So looking at representing unknowns, look with me on page 457. One of the keys to solving a word problem is representing the unknown using one variable, okay? Now, this is where they tell you about, well, let's just read through it and I'll tell you. And you can do it this way. I just don't like it with boys and girls. Anyway. All right, so the phrase states, Sean is 17 years older than Marie. Okay, so one of the keys to solving word problem is representing the unknown using one variable. And this key gives you some examples. So the unknown ages here are Marie. Is it Maria? Marie. So Marie's age and Sean's age. Now, what did it tell us here? That Sean is 12 years older than Maria. Younger than Maria. So, they are choosing M as Maria's age. And then Maria minus 12 equals Sean's age. Okay? You don't have to choose a letter. Like they used M for Maria. You guys see that? You don't have to do that. But if it makes it easier for you to solve it and work it out, then absolutely use it. But anyway, so this would be the representation, the algebraic representation, which you can look at it in the book as well. 3 consecutive numbers. There are 3 consecutive numbers. Look how they're represented. The first, second, and third. The first is n. The second is n plus 1. The third is n plus 2. 3 consecutive even numbers. First number is n. Second number is n plus 2. Third number is n plus 4. 3 consecutive odd numbers. First number n. Second number n plus 2. Third number n plus 4. All right, go ahead and flip over to the next page. Now, we're going to look at some practice problems here on page 458. No, let's look at A. The sum of 2 numbers is 45, okay? So, you remember is represents equals 45, okay? One number is 11 more than the other number. What are the 2 numbers? Okay, so they used n. The first number is n. The second is what? N plus 11, right? You guys with me today?
Partially.
So how would you write the equation? Well, they tell you there. N plus 11 equals 45. Well, you can drop the parentheses, and you're going to get what? 2n plus what?
Plus 11.
Equals 45. And then what do? William? That's right. You're going to subtract 11 from both sides, and that cancels, and you get 2n equals what? 34. You divide both sides by 2. N equals what?
17.
Perfect. So the first one is 17, and then you have 17 plus 11, which equals what? 28. All right? Now let's look at another one here that involves multiplying. B, Jeremy is twice as old as his brother David. If the sum of their age is 24, how old are they? Well, you've got David, and I like how they represented David's age as X. And how old is Jeremy? 2 times as old as David. That's right. And what is the sum of their years? 24. Okay? So, X plus 2X equals 24. Am I correct? So I add those together and I get what? Come on, guys. Some of you look like you've lost your best friend.
No, you could do this so much simpler.
If you looked from what I see up here, you would be like, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Odell. So David is 8. How old is Jeremy?
Twice as old as 7.
Which is what? What did you say, Bear? 2 times 8? 16. All right.
We're all in there.
So guys, now let's flip over and let's look at number 1 on page 459. Number 1. Let's all read it together. Let's all wake up and read it together. Okay? The sum of 2 consecutive numbers is 89. Find the numbers. Okay? So you have X and you have X plus what?
1.
There you go. X and then X plus 1. And they equal what? 89. So you're asked to do 2 things here, okay? Number 1, or I think you can put A, you're to write the equation. X plus 1 equals 89. Not 9. So that's it. All of these problems, you're going to have 2 steps, okay? So the first thing you're going to write is you're going to write A and you're going to write the equation, okay? You can write your answers to number 1 here in your book. Secondly, you're going to give an answer, okay? So I'm just going to rewrite this equation here and I'm going to solve it, which is X plus 1 equals 89. So then I'm going to have 2X plus 1 equals 89. And then I'm going to have what? 2X equals 88. And then what am I going to do?
Separate 2x and get that.
So X is going to equal what? 44. So we have X equals 44. And then we have X plus 1, which equals 45. And you would write your answer like this. B, 44, and 45. That's how you would write your answer to that particular one. All right, any questions? You guys want to try one more before I set you loose?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at number 3. Let's read number 3 together, okay? Joy is 1/3 as old as her cousin Emily. If the sum of their age is 24, how old are Joy and Emily? So we know that Joy is 1/3 as old as Emily. And how old is Emily? We don't know, but we're going to represent her as X. Okay? So Joy is represented as 1/3 X. Emily is represented as X. And what is the sum of their ages? 24. Okay? Yes?
Are we just gonna do the odd?
I'm going to tell you here in a few minutes. Right now we're doing number 3. So now let's write the problem here, okay? So A, you would write your equation, right? Which is 1/3 X plus X equals 24. That's your equation. And then B, you're going to solve it, okay? So let's just go ahead and solve it. Okay, so if I combine 1/3 X plus X equals 24, what would I get? Anybody have an idea how I would solve that? How would I combine those two? Would I have 1 and 1/3 X equals 24? Which I'm going to change this to an improper fraction, which would be 4/3 X equals 24. So I'm multiplying right here, right? What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So I'm going to bring it over through division, which 24/1. I'm going to keep, flip, and change. Right? This cancels out. This becomes a 6. So how old? X equals what? 18. So Emily is 18. So how old is Joy? 1/3 of 18, which equals what? 6. So Joy is 6 years old. Okay, and then you would just write Joy, 6 years old, Emily, 18 years old. See why those fractions are good to know all your life? You got to know how to. Won't finish this assignment today because I don't assign any. Well, you might because we got extra time in here today. I think. Maybe.
I think it's over at 10:50. I don't know.
I'll have to look here in a second, but you might be right, Noah. Anyway, so on page
That means you'll have a short English.
on page 459, you're gonna do. I'm just gonna assign you 2. I'm gonna assign you 2 through 8 today. I actually had it through 16, but due to timing, do 2 through 8 even right now. Okay.
No.
If you're done with 8, go ahead and move on through 16. But if not, just do 2 through 8. And I'd like to go over those answers if we could. But this is not to be finished for homework, okay? Miles, you awake?
I'm aware of that.
Okay, you.
That's